Good morning, everybody. I hope everyone's having a great day. Just want to make sure that everyone remembers that we have this incredible series coming up, the Israeli Distinguished Speakers Series. So you should certainly sign up to hear these really important talks that are going to really shed a lot of insight into what's going on in Israel today and help us to connect to that in a much more meaningful way. Okay, so back to Rabbi Akiva. So the thing about Rabbi Akiva that he's probably most famous for in terms of his character traits, and the one which I think is so important right now to learn from and to try to grow with, is that Rabbi Akiva had this incredible optimism. What gave a man who was 40 years old, had never studied Torah in his life, he didn't know the difference between an aleph and a bet? What gave him the thinking that he'd be able to join the academy and become a great Torah scholar, which, by the way, he did? It was the attribute of optimism. Rabbi Akiva was an incredible optimist. And there are all kinds of stories throughout the Talmud that talk about this great optimism of Rabbi Akiva. What's the difference between an optimist and a pessimist? An optimist is somebody who believes that any problem, any flaw in life or in oneself can be overcome. And a pessimist is someone who thinks that problems and flaws inside of a person are insurmountable and cannot be overcome. And if you do manage somehow to overcome some negative trait inside of you, you'll just find something else or some other hurdle. Rabbi Akiva, at the age of 40, awakens to his own ignorance, realizing the insurmountable challenge of becoming a scholar of Torah when he doesn't know the difference between an aleph and a base. And what motivates him? I have a belief in myself. I'm not afraid of failing. I believe that I can overcome any challenge. The founder of this modern psychological school called positive psychology was a man named Martin Seligman. He did a very interesting experiment to see the importance of optimism in jobs that require tremendous perseverance. Sales is an area where you have to be very perseverant. You have to continue and push all the time and accept rejection and no's and no's and no's after no's. So what did he do? He did an experiment. He took two groups. One of them, he gave them both tests. There were two tests. There was a test from the MetLife insurance sales company that tested one's aptitude, intelligence, and ability to sell. And there was another test that he created that tested one's innate optimism. And then he took two groups. One group that failed the optimism test, but succeeded in the intelligence and aptitude test for sales. That was group one. Group two was a group that failed in the aptitude test and the intelligence test, indicating that they would not be good salesmen and saleswomen, but they did very well in the innate optimism test. And then he pitted these two groups against each other. Amazingly, in year one, the team optimism outsold the other team, the team that had much greater aptitude and much greater intelligence and ability on paper to sell, by 21%. In year two, they outsold them by 57%. And his conclusion was that when the mountain of no's accumulate, setback after setback, it's the ones who have innate optimism, who believe that hurdles can be overcome, that will push through and succeed in life. What helped Rabbi Akiva at the age of 40, an unlettered shepherd, to become the greatest teacher of the Jewish people? It was his incredible optimism. Gam zu l'tova. Everything is for the good, and he believed in it, and that was his message. We'll talk about it more tomorrow.